Good morning and welcome to the January 23rd County Commission meeting. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and if you wish to speak on any item or on the agenda, please fill out a speaker card. Persons addressing the board shall have, it depends on what issue it's on. If it's a quasi-judicial issue, it'll be 3 minutes. On the issue on public comments today, I have approval of the board to cut that down to 2 minutes. So there'll be a lot of people speaking, so I just wanted to let you know up front that I'm exercising my right as chairman to limit the debate. There won't be any debate, it'll just be public comment. I know a lot of you are here. We want to hear what you have to say, but you'll have 2 minutes to say it. The Board of County Commissioners requests the speakers appearing under public comment section of the agenda limit their comments or presentations. It's the responsibility of the chair to determine the time limit and commends under public comment and other agenda items that are not quasi-judicial. Before we get started, I would like to call Pastor Steve Young up to give our invocation. Pastor, are you here? You're not. Commissioner Pritchett, would you please be kind enough to give us an invocation this morning?
Well, thank you. I'd be honored if y'all would bow your heads a moment. Father, we just thank you for this morning, and Lord, we just pray that we would all make great decisions that would positively affect the people of this community, Lord. We thank you for your wisdom, and we thank you for the ability today to have good communication. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodson, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Bringing it back to the board, do I have an motion for approval of the minutes from the December 19th, 2023 meeting? There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Minutes are approved. Resolutions and awards. This is a big one. Just let me add before we get started on this that we will be very, very sad to see Jerry Visco leave us, but I would like to read this resolution on behalf of the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners, recognizing Jerry Visco for his outstanding service as Director of Human Resources for Brevard County. Whereas Mr. Jerry Visco has been providing exceptional guidance and leadership to the Brevard County Board of Commission as Office of Human Resources Director since 2015, whereas Mr. Visco, like a good neighbor, was the county's insurance director managing claims from 2001 to 2015. Mr. Visco, after graduating from Ohio State University with a BS in Consumer Service in 1979, was assigned as a first lieutenant to the 9th Military Law Center, Judge Advocate General, while attending law school. Whereas Mr. Visco attended the Capital University of Law, Columbus, Ohio, earning his Juris Doctorate degree in 1983, whereas Mr. Visco is a veteran of the United States Army, served as a tank platoon leader and battalion adjunct. Is that how you pronounce that? I think that's correct. Aha, there you go. Thank you, Jerry. Armored 3rd Infantry, attaining the rank of captain during his 4 years of active duty service to our great nation, whereas Mr. Visco's contribution to Brevard County have had an impact on multiple Brevard County departments, including but not limited to Parks, Recreation, Fire, Rescue, Tourism, Central Services, Public Works, Transit Services, Mosquito Control, and Utility Services. Whereas Mr. Visco's expertise and experience in the group health insurance and provide casualty insurance programs has allowed the county to keep the robust insurance coverage while employer and employee rate increases below the medical trend. This was accomplished by reducing unnecessary charges and modifying plans and benefits, pharmacies, formulations, and while continued to increase employee wellness programs and initiatives. Mr. Visco has earned the admiration and respect of his staff, colleagues of the Brevard County Board of Commission for his dedication, enthusiasm, professionalism, sense of humor, and hard work. Whereas Mr. Visco's reputation for level-headed thorough advice is known throughout the county offices, as well as being a county resident of winning others over. In his words, there are no strangers or only friends he hasn't met. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Brevard County Board of County Commissions do wonderfully wish him a wonderful retirement, enjoying his family's and endless personal days in his favorite sports team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and the beloved New York Football Giants and the New York Yankees. Jerry, it's such a pleasure. I mean, when I came on board here just recently, I felt a little lost, and when we came and I saw you, you were just so warm and kind and pleasant. So just from a personal standpoint, I want to thank you for all your service to this county. Do we let Mr. Visco say a few words first?
I think you need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion to accept him for retirement. No, let's not do that. Let's keep
It's even
a
money whether there'll be a
resolution,
vote on
please.
this.
Make a motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. Now, okay, help me out here.
Now you can let him talk.
I can let him talk, thank you. I've got permission from my wingman on the left here. Jerry, please, if you'd address the county commission.
Thank you. I want to thank the commission for the kind words and the recognition. This is it's really nice, and it starts to hit home when we have this conversation that there are fewer days in front than there were behind. So it takes a little getting used to. I want to say a couple thank yous while I got the chance to be up here. Quick story, many years ago, I was handing out work assignments to staff. I was getting a little pushback from someone that said, they needed reassurance that this was going to get done. The job is easy. You got this. And the response I got was, the job's always easy for the guy who doesn't have to do it. Well, I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by people who know how to get it done, who do it. And I want to say thanks to the HR staff, past and present, for being there and doing the heavy lifting and keeping the organization up and running. It's made the journey that much easier. I also want to shout out to the directors sitting in the back. This county is fortunate to have a group like this, dedicated public servants, committed, professional. These guys know their stuff, and we're very lucky to have a professional core like that. And I thank them for their friendship and their camaraderie and continuing to get it done. I'm going to miss most of you, maybe not Eddie. The county manager's staff, the assistant county managers, and of course, I need to say something nice about the boss. Give me a minute. No, Frank, been together almost 23 years. He saw something in a guy coming out of the corporate world that he thought would work here. He brought me on board. He showed me the ropes. We've worked hard. We've done a lot of good stuff together. I thank him for putting up with me for this amount of time and for being the leader that this organization has needed at the right time. Boss, you took us to the edge of the cliff, you pushed, and we flew. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jerry. How many people from HR are here today? All the people from HR, stand up if you would, please. Wow, that is just wonderful. Thank you. I guess we need to, Frank. Yeah, we're gonna go downstairs right now, and I think if the whole commission would join me, I would appreciate it. I'm gonna help you out here.
I'm gonna let you guys out first.
Fine, there you go.
Don't run into you.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather have the lady out, so there you go. Darn it, you guys beat me. Beating that. All right, everybody? All right, here we go. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, Jerry. I appreciate it very, very much. Okay, I guess we're going to move on to the consent agenda, and we have several cards here. Before I go to that, is there any consent agenda item that the commission would like to have polled?
No, sir, I'm good.
Okay, let's go then to consent agenda item number 3, and we have a card from Richard. Richard, are you here? There you are. Good morning, Richard.
Hey, morning. Rick Heffelfinger, 2000 Juniper Drive, District 1. Wonderful District 1. I had, again, I'm not catching on real well. I was going to kind of ask some questions, or maybe you could fill us in, because this is an interesting one that somebody has donated property on Grissom Boulevard, and you guys are going to waive the Phase 1 environmental site assessment because it said you already kind of have an intended use for the parcel, and I assume this is Grissom widening. Is that a fair assessment? You could shake your head yes or no. Again, I'm going to ask questions. I know it doesn't work real well, but I just assumed this was, and I find it hard to believe that they just popped up out of the woods and approached you guys and said, we'd love to give you a piece of property for free, when they could have probably held you over a barrel for it. I probably would have held you over a barrel. I just find it interesting, and this happened back in December. So I just thought it was a little bit weird that they're throwing property at you, and we're talking about a Grissom widening. Just didn't know if you wanted to add anything to that or not. And I guess I could use the last minute if anybody wanted to comment. No?
I think we're good.
I figured you were good. But you know what? I'm going to stand here anyway because I got my minute.
You're welcome too.
Nah, you know what?
You can put your hat on backwards
I
too
won't
if you want.
because I'm going to ask you a favor later. So I'm going to yield my 40 seconds.
Wow, there you go. All right, consent agenda item number 6, Sandra Sullivan. You were hiding, I didn't see you today. Good morning, Sandra.
Side. It always got to be a little unpredictable. Sandra
Well,
Sullivan.
you are certainly that, Sandra.
South Patrick Shores. So glad to see that you dropped F9 that sort of corresponds and works with F8. But I just want to reiterate that as we look to our water, wastewater, and reclaimed water future, that how important it is to protect what? I got his 40 seconds. That's only a minute. You already cut us down from 3 minutes, and there's not even that many people here. This is ridiculous. So anyway, the point is that our wetlands are our aquifer recharge. So a few years ago, FDOT was talking about we're not going to have enough future drinking water for the growth that we're going to have in Central Florida. And what I see is the big thing you could do as a county is protect your wetlands. And I've sat here in this audience rambling acres where your planning department, planning and zoning, sent out a letter to the people within 500 feet and said, you know, we can waive stormwater. And when you read that section of code, it says except if it's wetland, which it was. So I just want to reiterate that it is so important as part of this planning to incorporate the protections of the wetlands for aquifer recharge, and I don't see the county doing it. Basically, it's just like, let's encourage the intensity development on our wetlands, and you're really screwing the future of the residents of Central Florida and Brevard by the direction of going to reclaimed water, sewage water for drinking water. Thank you.
Rick Heffelfinger, 2000 Juniper Drive, District 1. You want to reset that? Thank you. Again, this is an F7. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I was hoping that instead of this going to consent, I was wondering if anybody could add the fact that this is to support a widening of the 528 down near Courtney, and you're grabbing a little bit of utility space, I guess, and giving that over to FDOT, because I assume they're going to encroach on that property a little bit. And I was just wondering if anybody could enlighten us on if they know what the status of the program is. Maybe D2 could tell us if he knows what that is, since it's his area. That's all. I thought it was exciting that we're moving forward with widening the 528 there. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. All right, I do not see any more cards. Do I hear a motion to approve consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Pritchett and a second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The consent agenda is approved. Where are we? Okay, public hearings, G1. Who's going to handle this one? Mark?
Good morning,
Go ahead, sir, if you
Commissioners.
would, please.
G1 is a petition to vacate a portion of a public road, utility, and drainage easement in Cocoa for the benefit of Florida Power and Light Company, District 1. This vacate will not be recorded until a certificate of occupant is completed for a road that FP&L is building. There are no objections noted.
Does the commission have any questions? Hearing no questions, the floor is open to a motion.
Motion approved.
It's a motion to approve by Commissioner Tobias,
I'll second.
a second by our other commissioner sitting to my left, my wingman, Commissioner Feltner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Who's going to handle G2?
All right, Mr. Chair, G2 is a proposed ordinance that would amend the code to provide for additional hearing notification and municipal participation requirements on TEFRA hearings. Those are the hearings that the Housing Finance Authority conducts when there's a proposed bond issue in support of an affordable housing project. This was initiated by the District 3 Commissioner, and at the December 5 meeting, the Board of County Commissioners approved legislative intent and permission to advertise. This adds notice requirements so that the notification for those TEFRA hearings doesn't just go in a legal ad section or on a website, but it will be equivalent to rezoning request where there's notification to property owners within 500 feet, there's posting on the property. It also provides for municipal inputs when the property is within the boundaries of an incorporated municipality. As a courtesy, I provided this to the attorney for the Housing Finance Authority, who reviewed it and had no suggested changes. And happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Tobias, do you have a question?
I was going to make a comment and a motion, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Well, I actually did not see these cards. I'm going to go back to it in just a minute.
Okay, so you want to handle that first? And
Yeah,
I'll
that'd
make
be
a motion
fine. I apologize to John Rosenthal and to Richard. I think you were going to speak.
Questions only, so I think just.
Okay, if you have some questions only on G1. Richard, do you want to ask any questions?
I'm sorry. He's the guy liking our questions.
Can I answer questions on this one? I was just concerned about, that's a big FPL and they're trying to take an easement out. I guess they're going to join the properties and do something. Can anybody tell me what their plan is there?
This is G1.
Because
Yeah,
it's like right across from the parish, right? It's a big FPL. They bought up and they spent quite a bit of money buying up those properties. Does anybody know what the plan is for that?
John Denninghoff.
Or is
John,
that
do you have a
secret?
comment on this?
Joining the property is essentially the reason they're looking to do the vacating that they're requesting.
Yeah, because that splits a couple of those parcels, right? So they want to make them all one big one without any utility assessment, but we don't know what it's for. I know that the first two little properties right across the street are gas station, I think. Their own, they weren't recently purchased, but that was a lot of money to spend. I was just wondering if that's a power plant? Is that an FPL power plant? No?
Commissioner Goodson wants to.
I can.
Yeah, Commissioner Goodson, did you want to?
Substation. It's going to be a
A
substation.
power substation? Okay, well, that answers my question then. Thank you very much.
There you go. Michelle, did you want to comment on this at all?
Thank you, Commissioners. Just a moment of clarity, it is going to be a service center. So just a service center for FPL.
Okay,
No
thank
other-
you
thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate it.
No worries.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. We're
I
good.
do want to make a comment.
Commissioner Pritchett.
I do want to thank Florida Power Light and the county staff. You guys have been working on this a long time, and thank you for submitting with the road. That was a real important thing for our district up there. But this is a great project during emergencies and hurricanes, and I appreciate it.
Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
On G2.
Yes, dear, I'm sorry. I'll do
Thank you very much. Commissioner Tobias, did you have a comment?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank the county attorney's office for all the hard work on preparing this so quickly and the efforts made to create a more transparent system. And I'd like to make a motion to adopt the attached ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 3 of the Brevard County Code of Ordinance pertaining to the Housing Finance Authority to provide for additional TEFRA hearing notification and municipal participation requirements.
There's a motion by Commissioner Tobias, seconded by Commissioner Feltner. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Okay, we're going to unfinished business, and I'd like Commissioner Pritchett to take the floor, if she would, please.
I think, can we do one card?
Sure.
You want me to take the floor?
Commissioner Sullivan. Yeah, you've been elevated today, Commissioner. Sandra Sullivan, you have a comment that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I would have been if the person sitting up there didn't cheat. But anyway, aside.
Pardon me?
So, allegedly. Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So on this, I was tempted to go by a thrift shop and buy a waffle iron and come present you with a little award and call you the Waffle Commission. This was on the last agenda, this benefits, this is the Ron John triathlon, and on the last agenda, there was a gift from Ron John. So you have the optics, so it was removed from the last agenda, presumably for optics, and so it's back on this time. I just want to say, related to this and the optics of lobbying, that, I find it of no coincidence today in the paper that, again, the waffle side of it as it relates to items like this, that the papers, you're no longer, the chair is no longer a lobbyist, but he's going to Tallahassee to lobby on behalf of the county, which just happens to be some of the issues that these clients had been requesting assistance of the state at the state delegates meeting. And it's shameful, this commission has got to a point where I've never seen something like this in the 5 years of coming. It is truly shameful, so consider my virtual gift of a waffle iron. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Sandra. I could use a waffle iron. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to unfinished business, and if Commissioner Pritchett would take the floor, please.
Yes, sir. We are moving into a reconsideration. Commissioner Steele, you brought this back on. Do you want to open this, or you want the county staff to, sir?
I think I'll probably like to open it if you don't mind.
Okay.
There has been a tremendous amount of drama in regards to the cultural grants from the beginning. There's been some confusing things that have created some uncertainties to some of the commission in regards to cultural grants, and specifically in this particular instance. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to waive the rules, and if I can get by that, I'd go into a reconsideration. So I'm moving to waive the rules.
Have a motion to reconsider this item. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Goodson. Commissioner Tobias, is that a new light or old light, sir?
It's, I guess, a new light, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I'd just like to point out before we vote on this, since the December 19th meeting, there's been no new information presented by the applicant regarding the events that would justify waiving Robert's rules, so the board can reconsider. I did, however, receive an email from the applicant apologizing for not including me in the correspondence along with the other 4 commissioners. It certainly takes a big person to apologize publicly, and I appreciate the conciliatory words. However, in the absence of any new data, I don't see why we would move forward, and this would set a bad precedent to switch course. This is not the first time the board has recently reconsidered a decision made by a majority vote. Votes made by the board. A commission should have some sense of finality and permanence. The board cannot just vote with the wind. This is an issue that the board needs to address so that it does not keep continuing in the future. So I will be voting against this, as the board clearly made a decision very recently, and I personally have no new information to change said opinion.
Okay, the first question on the table is whether we're going to bring this back up for a vote again. So that's the first motion right now before we discuss the item. Commissioner Feltner, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
I would echo some of those sentiments. I don't think we ought to be doing this. And it's not that I have anything against the event, the promoter, or any of those things, but I think this board has found itself in a bad place where we keep reconsidering the last item that failed, and there's just no end in sight. For the future, I would fix this with a 4-1 vote necessary to reconsider items. I think that would go a long way, but in the absence of that, I'm not going to support this today.
Commissioner, may I have a comment, please?
Yes, certainly, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take the blame for this. There's no new information. Candidly, what's happened with this particular item started out with some hard feelings between Mitch Varnes and Commissioner Tobias. I'm not saying on Commissioner Tobias' part, but basically what happened is that there was some new data or new criteria that came up, and I don't believe Mitch wanted to provide that to us. And as a result, the first time this issue came up, I basically said if we weren't going to provide that information, I was going to vote against it, and I did. The last meeting that we had where we voted on this issue, I don't know how I missed this, but I thought that criteria was not brought back to the commission. And that was the reason why I voted against this particular issue. I did go back after the hearing, after I talked to some people from Cocoa Beach and a variety, and not Ron Johns, Ms. Sullivan, the mayor, and a variety of other people that really enjoy this particular event, and that it also puts 1,200 heads in beds. I decided that I was neglectful and not hearing that he did provide all the criteria. So I'm eating a little crow today because I made a wrong decision to not support this issue the last time. So that's the reason why I would like to waive the rules and motion for reconsideration. So that's where I am, and I hope that the commission sees that, would give this another look today. So I'm finished with this.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to reconsider, and I had a second by Commissioner Goodson. Is that correct? Okay, for reconsideration, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we're going to reconsider it at this point and decide whether we're going to support the item. I want to go ahead and make a comment here real quick before we get started. Mr. Varnes, are you here? Sir, I'm going to need you to fill out a card, but if you would come up, that would be great. I think it is a good project. I think we desperately need to work on getting better information. We're giving out grants this large. But I do want to make the comment of the Office of Commission should always come with a certain type of respect. Whether you like me or not, the office needs to have respect. And in this nation that we have right now, I'm just going to go ahead and get on a platform a second. with the way we treat each other. It's just not okay. People just slander people personally, and in local levels, these are good people. And Commissioner Still is a good man. Commissioner Feltner is a good man. Commissioner Goodson's a good man. Commissioner Tobias is a good man. And so, if we have disagreements in policy, that's one thing, but when we get personal, I have great concern for that with the character of people coming up, even trying to get any information out. So, sir, before we even get started, I'm going to request that you would publicly give an apology for some of the things with Commissioner Tobias. I read some of the newspaper things, and it really concerned me. And we had a gentleman up here one time just say some things. He came back with a heartfelt apology, and it made a really big difference. So I'm going to ask if that's in you right now for me to move forward, and I'm going to give you the floor a second, sir.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Pritchett. I did apologize to Commissioner Tobias for not including him in the original letters. That was an oversight on my part, I would say. But again, going back to what Commissioner Steele just said, in the December meeting, I had submitted everything on time. My grant requests meet or exceed all criteria that were seen by the other ones. I've been doing this a long time, and this does put 1,200 beds, or heads in beds, legitimately verified. When people enter our events, we know where they're staying. What we don't know is how many people come with them. So we really just use one person, but we know that in general, 2.5 people come to these races, and they stayed 2 to 3 nights. So I think the spend, what the Board of Tourism came up with, is just on a single person for our events, they're spending about $120,000 all total. So you multiply that times 2 or 3. So getting back, Commissioner Pritchett, I did apologize to Commissioner Tobias for not including them in that original letter. That
I think it was a little more than that after I read the newspaper.
Well, I was called ignorant by him in the last meeting. I'm going to say that. And I apologize if I offended him, but I was hot. It happened right after the meeting. I was contacted by Florida Today, and I apologize to you for saying that. So it's good. They're good events. I meet all criteria, and I really respectfully request that we approve these grants. These are important events to our city and the county, and people travel a long ways to come to these events. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carnes, do you want to? Mr. Kranis, I'm sorry, I always call you Mr. Peter, but go ahead.
She's looking for comments from you, Peter.
The only thing I could say is these events do drive business. They drive heads in beds. So, the TDC reviewed them. They did approve them. So we're bringing them back here to be reconsidered.
Thank you, sir. As far as the ratio with the other events that we put through, what type of return on investment are we looking for these two? And what's just so the public knows, what's the total amount request for these two events?
Sorry, ma'am. One event is Cocoa Beach Triathlon. It's $12,000. It's based on number of room nights, and it's $15 per room night. And then the other is the USA Beach Running Championship. Both of those are held in April, and that's $6,000.
$6,000 for the beach and $12,000 for the other, for a total of $18,000
Yes, ma'am.
request? Thank you, sir. Okay, let's see. Commissioner Still, is that you?
Well, it was, but once again, being the new chairman on the block, I don't know how to erase my name there.
Okay.
But I'll bet you Sandra Sullivan would be able to figure it out for
Commissioner
me.
Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. While this is no new information, I did spend a little time with a request from Mr. Barnes. Here is some information if you want to go over. I know you probably don't have that on, but there were a couple questions that I do have on here with your math. You mentioned that you expect 750 participants on the triathlon, duathlon, and about 300 on the 5K.
Yep.
I went on your website. I found that the lower of the two for the triathlon and the duathlon is $103 registration. It gets more, I imagine, as you get closer to the race. The 5K is $300, and you charge $45 for that. So I did the math, and I added the 77,000 plus the 13,000 and change, and ended up a total of 90,750, as you see in the spreadsheet there. But the estimated revenue you have is about a third of that. at $36,500. So my question is quite simply, how does that work?
These are best guess numbers, Commissioner, as of the time I did this. So what happens, just as an example,
So help me,
These-
what's the best guess? Is it the number of participants, or is it the registration cost?
this is the revenue. You're using the highest fee right here. This is like if you entered right before the race is the
No,
fee.
no, actually, that's not true.
Okay.
And if you go to the next page, you'll see that I pulled this a while ago, and I actually have the fees going up. I used the lowest fee possible, so you couldn't,
Well, I know
mention that it would be higher.
$45 is not the lowest fee we charge for a triathlon. That's a fact. That's the highest fee, $45, up for a 5K, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So-
let's
Regardless.
assume that's true. We'll take the $13,000 out. You're still at 77. You estimate that you're only going to receive half of that at 36,000. So can you explain assuming there is no fee for the 5K?
Well, we have to
can you
see what
explain
happens. Yes, exactly. So,
Again, this is revenue. This isn't cost. This is revenue.
understand. St. Anthony's Triathlon, which is the biggest triathlon in the state, is the same time frame as ours. In St. Pete, it's a USA Triathlon Championship race. Ironman is having a race at the same time in Central Florida. So I'm trying to weigh how many people will go to those races, how many go to the other races. So it was a best guess at the time. Our race has proven to be the biggest sprint triathlon in Central Florida for years now. So again, using averages here, this is just an example of what I do as an event producer. 3 years ago, we had 600 and some people in the triathlon.
I'm just looking for a math question. So you don't think there'll be 750?
I can't stay here today and say there will be. I mean, right now, we have about 350 registered. We're going to get more. Some people drop out, people get injured. That's my best guess as of the time I did this. I can say that to you right now. When it all shakes out after the event, we'll know. But that was my best proposal. I can't say we're going to have 100,000 entries or 50,000 entries. I just don't know at this point.
Okay. Can you help me? Because the math didn't make sense on the USA Beach Running Championship either. Again, you put down that you would have an estimate of 900. And I've attached that here.
Yep.
I looked up the registration cost, and the registration cost is $73. And that actually increases to $83. I took
Okay.
the $73. I multiplied it wildly by the 900 and ended up with $65,700.
Okay.
But on your revenue estimation, it's only $31,400. So I understand that you have to estimate, and being off 5 or 10%, maybe that wiggle room. You say you do this for a living, but you're off by 100% here. So can you explain that difference of math, the 31,400 versus what you put in there versus the 900 times 73, which is 67,500?
Yes, again, it comes back to best guess estimate. So we typically do this race on Mother's Day weekend. And what we've learned is this race turns into like a girls' weekend, a mother and daughter weekend, and we see these big numbers. Because this year, the race is on the beach, and it has to be a low tide on a Sunday morning, is what we do. So this year, we don't have a low tide early in May. So to get back to your question, I'm doing a best guess for how many people will show up in this race in April compared to how we used to do it in May.
But I'm not guessing. I'm just taking your number at
Okay.
900.
Well, that's projected.
I'm taking your cost at $73, what you have listed in there,
Right.
and I'm multiplying them.
Okay.
And I'm adding up with something that is twice the amount of that mathematic equation. There's no estimating here. I'm using your numbers. I'm not using my numbers. I'm using your numbers, and you're 100% off here. So I'm a little bit concerned. Again, I understand if you're 5 or 10% off.
Okay,
but
again,
you're
these are
100%
projected. I'm
off.
moving this race up 2 weeks to a different month altogether. It's the best I can do. I mean, I'll be a lot smarter after it happens. I can answer any question to you after it happens, but as of right now, that's my best projected estimate when I put this together in late November.
Okay. Board, and this is pretty clearly, these numbers aren't even close. An estimate is off. Commissioner Goodson, I think if you do estimates, I think your customers would be a little mad if you're 100% off. 5 or 10%, maybe an estimate 100%. This stuff just simply does not add up. Again, I didn't impute any of these numbers. These are the numbers that Mr. Varnes put in. These are the costs that are on his websites. The math is right there. It does not lie. Again, I appreciate the emails, but you're not within reason for me to vote thumbs up on this one.
Thank you so much. we had changed the criteria where we have all of these people coming before us and asking P&Ls and everything else in the world. And I think that's been a little bit different with this particular case. But the bottom line here is how many people are going to come to Brevard County? How many heads are going to be in beds? And I talked to our director of TDC, Peter Kranis, and his estimate is that would have 1,200 beds, heads in beds. So I get what Commissioner Tobias is doing. I understand what Mr. Barnes is doing, but the bottom line is this is a big race. It's been going on for a long time. The people at Cocoa Beach, the mayor and a variety of other people, the former mayor and a variety of other people have called and said to me, don't let this race go. We don't want to lose it to another city. We like it, and it really brings in beds and heads and beds. So excuse me for that. So that was one of the reasons I brought it back up. I like Mitch Varnes. I have a great deal of respect for Commissioner Tobias, but this should be about how many heads are we putting in beds. So with that, I'd like to call the question,
I'd
Madam
like
Chairperson.
to maybe throw out a compromise. We, with Space Coast Dailies Fair, we were able to reimburse after the fact. So what I would propose is that this comes back after the event. We look at the numbers, and then we make the decisions to fund it at that time. Would you have the funds right now to do it, and then we would reimburse if we found that we hit these
Well,
numbers?
that's how, Commissioner, that's how it always works. I'm reimbursed by the TDC after the fact, always.
No, it's not, but it's a way to compromise right now, so this doesn't go completely away on you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, this is no different than what normally happens if it's reimbursed after the fact. Sure, I
Okay.
can do that. I mean, I am going to meet
Okay.
the criteria. I mean, I know that. And
Okay.
as Commissioner Steele said and Peter Kranis said, I have the numbers. I can verify when people come in. We are putting heads in beds and spending money. So yes, ma'am, I would go with what you're projecting.
Okay, and your event's not too far out, it's pretty soon,
April
correct?
14 and April 28.
Okay, so Commission, that would be my compromise right now, that it comes back after the event, we look at the numbers and see what type of projections we were looking at. Commissioner Tobias, I think you're hitting your button a lot right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna punt that over to Peter. I appreciate the thought of a compromise, but I don't think that's a compromise, and the reason it's not a compromise is that's the status quo. I think Mr. Barnes and I can probably agree on that, that the reimbursement happens after the fact. It just doesn't need board consideration. So I don't think that would change. Mr. Chair?
Ms. Chair.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry,
That's all
Madam
right.
Chair, am I understanding that correctly, or
Yes,
am I?
sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the question is that we have concerns if he's going to get that many participants. Mr. Barnes, let me ask you this question because he brought this up. If they register before the deadline, I know Commissioner Tobias got 103 right here, what was the early bird rate?
Oh, it was down to like $60.
$60? Because
Yeah.
that's still probably a
And
little
25
higher
for
than the
the 5K.
numbers. Okay,
And again, ma'am, these are projections.
all right. Are they, as the numbers you gave us, consistent with the past years?
They were lighter. They were lighter than past years.
Okay,
But again,
so-
I just want to be clear, what happened to me in 2021 is we had a lightning storm come through at 5:30 in the morning, and this is something I bear the cost of as an event producer. We had a lightning storm come through at 5:30 in the morning, knocked over bike racks, knocked over bikes, canceled the race. I had to eat all the costs because my cones were already set up, barricades were set up, and as goodwill to participants, because they traveled to Cocoa Beach to come to this race, I just waived their fees for the next year. So I'm trying to use averages in my head as an event owner, and those are probably lighter than we'd see, but I'm just using averages, ma'am.
Okay, well, so that tells me there might not be as many. So, Commission, this is what I would vote for, is either we give half of the request for the grant, or we wait till after the event to see if he was able to pull these many participants in. So that's what I would vote for.
Commissioner,
But
I
I
think
don't
we're
know.
on a motion to reconsider, and we
We
haven't.
already reconsidered.
Oh, we did?
We
Okay,
did,
where am I
read that.
today?
Yeah. So we're trying to get to where we're.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Goodson, would you want to weigh in, sir? You're the only one that I haven't heard from yet. It's up to you.
I've been patiently listening. I'm going to vote to give them the grant, so I don't need to weigh in.
Okay.
Okay.
May I add one more thing here? So how it works, Commissioner Pritchett, is after, I'm sure you know this, but bear with me. After an event happens, we have forms we submit back to Mr. Kranis's office. They look at them and they say, okay, Mitch, you only hit 60%. We're only giving you 60% of that $12,000 in that case. That's how it would be. Or Mitch, you hit 120%. We're going to give you the full 100%. So that's kind of already taken into consideration with the tourism offices, how they pay out their grants.
Mr. Kranis, in the past, when we gave him grants and he didn't have anybody come to the events, did we not give him as much money?
I'd have to go back and look specifically for his events, but if there is any event that doesn't reach the threshold that they said, then we reduce the grant amount by that percentage.
Do you remember that happening in 2021?
I don't recall if it happened for his events. I'd have to go back and look for his specifically, but any events that would happen to, we would reduce.
There's so much conflicting information here that's not making sense in my head right now.
I'm sorry, like,
So did you get a cut amount from that year? You said you didn't have as many participants?
no, that was not a funded grant that year. I ate it as an event producer that
Okay.
particular year.
Okay.
I've only asked for a grant for this event a few times. I bared all the costs. And again, Commissioner Pritchett, my events can go back to the history of the TDC, going back to Rob Barley and Eric Garvey days. I've always hit my numbers. My projections are good.
I know, so that's what concerns me when you're using that for why we didn't turn a correct budget, because I'm adamant right now on getting good budgets in.
Yeah.
And so that, I do have that concern. So Commissioner Still, I do like the project, but if we put it out today, I'm not going to vote in favor of it. So it might be an advantage to wait on it again till we get new data, better data on what we think the real projections are. Because
You talking budget data?
Yeah. And I don't care if people make money, but we got pretty precise on getting good information in before we do this, because it's still taxpayer dollars. So in light of that, too, I do have that concern now. Not that I don't think it is a good project, but I think if we let everybody just turn in not good estimates, and I think this isn't a good estimate you turned in now, especially if you said the pre-amount was not that much less. So Commissioner Still, I'm just letting you know that's where I'm going to be. So if you count the votes, it might not be good to make a motion on this at this time. So that's what I'm just telling you. Commissioner Still.
I'm speechless. I mean, I think that we're in a position where whatever the numbers are, those are the numbers, and the numbers will be turned in at the end, and they will get that amount. So I'm not so sure why you're so dead set on.
Because they had to put the numbers in to be able to have us vote on the grants.
But you can't put the numbers in until all of the participants sign up.
I could do a good budget based on past historical events, and I don't think this was necessarily, I think you could have done better. I think you're telling us right now you probably could have done better as well.
I could have been tighter.
So
Excuse me, ma'am.
I think it might be better if you go back and redo that, and give us back those numbers, and then we vote on it. I think that would be probably have a little bit better of an outcome for me, because we are holding everybody to this now. We did the same thing to the fair. We did the same, we're making everybody do this. So I think if we wait a meeting and you come back with some numbers, you might have a better outcome for me, but I don't know. I'm just trying to count votes for you, sir.
And again, if I can just add, this is the criteria the TDC is putting heads in beds and spending money. That's what I'm doing. I can prove and
Yes, sir,
verify
but
that.
if we're giving you
And again, I'm being held to a higher standard than the
No,
other six
we're
applicants.
holding everybody to this right now. We changed the criteria. We had a problem before with air shows. This came up, and we changed it for the large events, so this is something we're changing now. And we're
Okay.
trying to get this set up to move into the future with these large grants, because there are large amounts of money coming in now. And not that I don't think it's a good event, but I think we need to see that. Commissioner Goodson, sir, you want?
Yeah. I just don't understand why we're going to postpone it again, when the best insurance you have is if he doesn't produce, he doesn't get the full 18. It's not like you're talking about $180,000. And if he's performed before, and if he doesn't perform this time, he's going to get less. That's the way I understand it. Is that correct, Peter?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Well, I think he'll probably pull them in, but we set up this criteria for people turning these in with good faith. And I can't ignore it. Commissioner Tobias just brought up with 36,000 in estimated revenues. And again, if we waited a time or two and you come back, a meeting or two, you come back with it, and we've got the numbers in, I probably will be a little bit better at that time.
You're looking for the head and bed numbers, is that correct?
I'm looking for your estimated
Okay.
revenue provided in the budget that you gave us. This is a lot of, it's a big, again, I don't mind if you
Yeah.
make money, but if we're telling everybody they got to do this, I'm an accountant. I don't want to people turning in just half-shot estimates on budgets.
But
I
I'm
know how
being
to do a
scrutinized to a
budget.
level that the other people that just got the sports grants from
Oh,
was
no,
denied.
we scrutinize them.
He looked at those?
Oh,
Commissioner
yeah,
Tobias looked at those?
we scrutinized
Okay.
the boat show.
Well,
and-
that was a major grant. I'm talking, we're a little grant.
I know, but we're doing it with everyone right now. This is $18,000, still pretty nice sized grant. So I think, again, they can take the vote now, but I'm not going to vote in favor of it until we get this fixed. But if you table it and you wait a couple weeks, there's a chance that I'll vote for it.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Thank you.
Commissioner Steele.
Move to table.
Have a motion to table? Second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
We're going to table it to the next meeting, sir?
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Barnes, if you will just get that back in and fix those numbers, that would be good.
Do I work with Mr. Kranis on the timeline on that? Okay.
Yeah, but you could probably, can you have it back by next meeting, or do you need more time?
I can get it to you as soon as you want it.
Okay.
And I'll
Okay,
use my
sir.
best guess as of today.
Okay.
That's all I can do.
But make it the best guest.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Steele, you're on.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the next wonderful thing on new business, and that is, I have a card here from Vince Lamb. Vince, would you come up and explain to us what we're doing here with this letter to the Nature Conservancy?
Thank you very much. Appreciate having this opportunity. Craig Wallace, Larley Thompson, and I visited all 5 of you back in August of 2023. During that visit, we mentioned that a small group of concerned citizens with the support of the Lagoon Coalition are moving forward to encourage a referendum renewing the Save Our Indian River Lagoon program in the November 24th ballot. So this activity is progressing, and the next step is a voter survey led by the Nature Conservancy and the Trust for Public Land. This survey will determine the willingness of a voter sample that represents the county demographics to pass the referendum. Similar surveys for Brevard County referendums in 2016 and 2022 were taken, and we went through this process, and they came out very close to predicting the actual vote results. This survey requires absolutely no Brevard County funding. The sponsoring organizations requiring this letter that is attached to the item on your agenda to be signed and sent by the commission chair. These organizations are providing 70% of the funding for the survey, and the balance is being contributed by our concerned citizens. The Brevard Indian River Lagoon Coalition will be helping with the fundraising. Your vote today to send this letter requesting a voter survey does not imply that you favor the Save Our Indian River Lagoon referendum in 2024. Perhaps your vote indicates that you would like to have this information before you are asked to vote to put the Lagoon referendum on the November ballot.
Thank you, Vince. Appreciate it very much. Richard?
Rick Heffelfinger, District 1, 2000 Juniper Drive. I guess these guys are just nice guys and they're going to do all this for free. And we want to know what the public thinks about. Is this the half-cent tax renewed in 2024? Is that what we're going to do? So they want to know what the public's kind of thinking and maybe advise you guys about some kind of an ad campaign. I don't know who pushes that. But I'm confused that you need to send them a letter saying that you would like to have their assistance, yet you're not going to give them any money. They're going to spend their own money, and they're going to give you some feedback on whether or not this tax thing would fly and what you need to say to make it fly. Is it kind of like a little market research for whether you can sell the program? I just don't understand why you have to give them a letter. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Richard. Ms. Sullivan?
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So this is what was done last time we had the Save the Lagoon tax, which had been actually in the newspaper as intended to be a muck tax, but got remarketed as a lagoon tax. And that's how we ended up with 66% muck dredging. But how you ask a question, it determines whether you get a favorable response or not. So for full transparency, I think, before you approve this, you should see the survey and have input into the survey, since you're giving permission to essentially what may go along with this is a certain amount of propaganda. The other key question is that the rumor mill around Brevard County and also with a newspaper article last year is that they want to increase this tax to 1%. And so for full intention, it should be disclosed here. Are they pursuing a half-cent sales tax to get feedback on a half-cent sales tax? Or are they pursuing a one-cent sales tax?
Thank you very much for your comments, Ms. Sullivan. Okay, let's go to reports, and then I will go to the Mickle Road issue, if you don't mind. County Manager, do you have a report? Pardon me?
You want to vote on this or
Oh,
talk
yes.
about it?
Yes, I apologize.
This is yours. Do you want to
Yes,
tell us what you're
right.
thinking?
Correct. Do I have a motion to be able to send this letter? John, do you want to say something fast?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
The letter is not needed for the Nature Conservancy or the Public Trust to offer advice or assistance to the county. They certainly can do that on their own accord. I'm not willing to put my name on this, but if any individual wants to send such a letter, that certainly is fine with me, and I'd support any one individual authority to do so. Therefore, I've passed out here a letter that would be just on behalf of an individual commission or commission office instead of the entire board. If I was looking at data, I would hopefully look at data from an objective third party. I pulled up the Nature Conservancy, and there were multiple times where they speak for their advocacy. And while advocacy is great, it's not necessarily great when you're looking at an objective third-party measure of how the public may be thinking on one item again. So I can't support this letter going out on behalf of the board. But if Commissioner Steele or any other office would want to do that, I'd certainly support them doing that individually. But there would not need to be a motion in order for any individual office to send that. So I'd be voting no on the letter itself, but support if anyone who does it individually.
Commissioner Felder?
Well, I share a similar sentiment, only in that I'm not sure what the letter is supposed to do. There could be many different groups, and I assume there'll be lots of groups who will weigh in on these issues as the board considers renewing the tax or whatever, putting that before the voters. So I'm not sure I understand the purpose of the letter also.
Let me explain the purpose of the letter. The purpose of the letter is we're going to be going into meetings here in the next couple of months on whether or not to put this referendum on the ballot or not. And as a result of that, I would like to see the Nature Conservancy's comments in regards to what is going on here. What do you think the possibility of it being accepted is? What do you think the possibility of it being rejected is? This is information that's important. We are not paying a red cent for this. But let me tell you something else. Somebody else is paying for it, and it's not going to cost the county anything other than get us information. So I would like to have the information before we go into a situation for voting on whether or not we put this stuff on the referendum. I think it gives us a good indication of what the general public might say, and the Nature Conservancy is a very, very good group to be able to look into the crystal ball and give us that information. So that's the only reason why I think the letters from the County Commission is being requested. TNC said, you send us a letter with the chairman signing it, and we will go ahead and do the report.
Follow up.
Yes, sir.
I just assume they're going to weigh in anyways when the time comes, and so I'm not sure why we need to pick one group above another. Also, when you're talking about what the public thinks, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of what public sentiment is by that time when we're considering whether to put the issue before the voters or not. And then finally, I think you have historical data. You can look at the past election. That's a pretty good indicator of future events. So that referendum has already gone before the voters. So for all those reasons, I'm not sure. Again, I understand the purpose of the letter. So
Thank you. Commissioner Pritchett, do you have something you'd like to say?
Yes, sir. From voter intent in the past, they've almost overwhelmingly voted for this item. Commissioner Steele, if you want to send this from your office, Mr. Lamb, I'll send that one from my office as well. So if that will help, I don't know if the other commissioners want to individually, but I wouldn't mind doing this and putting the District 5 Commission office as well. So I would do that, sir. So if we don't do it from the board, I don't mind doing it individually as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodson, do you want to weigh in on this? No, I have no comment. Thank you. Is there a motion?
For you to just send a letter from your office, and I'll send one from mine.
No. Is there a motion where we are sending a letter with me signing it as the chairman of the county commission with a majority vote by the county commission? I think that's what the Nature Conservancy would like to see. And if we pass it, we pass it. If we don't, then we can send the letters on our own.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion. I'm not sure we're going to pass it, but I'll make a motion too.
That's okay. My batting average isn't very good today anyway.
I made a motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Pritchett. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
the
sir.
Point is the motion to send it as a board, or is it to send it individually? I'm sorry.
He wants to do it as a board.
As a board, okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, hearing no more further discussion, is there a second on that, was there a second on that motion? Commissioner Pritchett, would you take the commission, please?
I will. Are you wanting to make a second, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails. Cheers again.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to board reports. County manager,
I have no report.
county attorney,
No report, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Pritchett,
No report, sir.
Commissioner Goodson.
No, sir, no.
I'm going to skip over Commissioner Tobias just for a minute. Commissioner Feltner, report.
I don't have a report. I have a request. If we could take a 5-minute break before we could go to all the cards. So that's my request.
Okay, let's just do, if your report, no report on you, no report on me, and we will take a 5-minute break and come back to discuss the very interesting and situation on Micco Road, the Micco Road Bridge. Thank you. So before we move further, I would like to call on Commissioner Tobias. We're going to move forward here. Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Commissioner Tobias, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one regular board report before I jump to the Vice Chair, and this is a positive one. In November, Chair Pritchett sent a letter on behalf of the board to 3 CRAs asking for further clarification on their budgets. These considerations are the City of Rockledge CRA, Titusville CRA, and Cape Canaveral CRA. We've received responses from all 3 CRAs, and I'd just like to thank the cities and the CRAs for responding fully to those inquiries. Certainly, it's a lot more transparent than it was in the past. Hopefully, we continue with that, and I just want to just say thank you and make it very clear that they'd fully complied and shared all that information. So that was a positive here, and then on to the Vice Chair. Today is National Measure Your Feet Day, which is kind of unusual. Useless Florida fact: Florida Everglades, containing 1.5 million acres of sawgrass, marshes, mangrove forests, hardwood, hammocks, and wetlands, is the largest subtropical wilderness in the United States. Everglades National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is the only place on the planet where crocodiles and alligators coexist. This day in Florida history. Former Governor Charlie Eugene John passed away on this day in 1990. In 1953, upon the death of Governor Dan McCarthy, John, the President of the Senate, became Florida Chief Executive. He ran unsuccessfully in 1954 in a bid to complete the remainder of Dan McCarty's term as governor. The Johns administration encouraged highway construction and eliminated tolls on overseas highway between Miami and Key West. Johns resumed his place in the Florida Senate in 1955, serving through 1966. Governor Johns was a strong advocate for prison reform throughout his legislative career. But doing away with tolls is certainly a positive. And most importantly, county employee recognition, Jason Kelly. Public Works, Road, Bridge, Maintenance Superintendent for Districts 1 and 2, 20 years of service. Comments from the District 2 office. The District 2 Commissioner would like to recognize Jason Kelly for being very helpful, responsive, and doing an excellent job for District 2. Jason started his career with Brevard County Public Works in 2003 as a general repair technician. After serving in various roles, he was promoted to Landscape and Herbicide Superintendent in 2015, Area Manager in 2019, and Maintenance Superintendent in 2023. Over his 20-year career, Jason's strong leadership skills and ability to organize work groups for optimal production has made him an invaluable member of the Road and Bridge program. Some interest: Jason is an avid fisherman, both salt and freshwater. He's also married to Rachel, and they have 2 wonderful kids, Emily and Grant. When Jason's not coaching kids in soccer, the Kelly family loves to travel. Jason is also a big Alabama Crimson Tide football fan, as well as Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Jason, if you're here, stand up. Thank you for your service. Sorry about the 20 recruits that decommitted to Alabama over the past couple of weeks, but more importantly, you are an excellent asset to the county, and we thank you so very much for your commitment. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mark, would you come up, and Pat, please, if you'd come up also. Before we get started, I'm going to have our 2 staff people give you an update on where we are with the bridge issue, and they will give their report, and then we'll get into your comments. Thank you so much.
Good morning, and thank you for letting me take the opportunity to address the Mico Bridge project in advance of the public speakers on this topic. Mico Bridge is an 85-year-old culvert-type structure built in 1938 with corrugated metal arches and wood piles. Today, it has long surpassed its life expectancy, is failing in several critical facets, including prior repairs, and has been for some time as documented in FDOT inspection reports. immediate replacement is necessary. We brought an agenda item to the board on 9/12/2023, which discussed the fact that we budgeted approximately $2.5 million for construction based on our consultant's estimate, but the lowest responsive and responsible contractor's bid was $4.5 million. At the time, we also shared with the board and recommended that for $3.4 million, we could proceed with this critical project if we deleted the temporary traffic bridge, creating a detour. In doing so, we shortened the public detour time to 8 months out of the total contract time. In late December, we issued an early courtesy notification and subsequently received numerous complaints in person and by email, phone, centering on or from the Lakes of St. Sebastian Preserve subdivision. My staff and I have moved quickly to field concerns and meet with the HO leadership team, their attorney, as well as the subdivision's builder, Holiday Builders. I want to state that we have addressed all requests to the greatest extent possible. Because of our proactive engagement, there will be no appreciable impact on the community's number one concern, fire and EMS response. Brevard County Fire Chief Voltaire is going to speak briefly but in depth on this at the end of my statement. Similarly, we engage with Brevard County Sheriff's Office to achieve a similar result for law enforcement. Additionally, we worked with Brevard County Solid Waste Services regarding waste collection, Brevard Public Schools regarding buses, and the U.S. Postal Service regarding mail delivery to minimize any impacts. They have all pledged to continue regular operations and will follow the prescribed detour. At the HOA's request, we also engage with Brevard County Transit Services to provide detailed information about transportation services that they and Indian River County offer for the elderly, disabled, and other qualifying residents in the area. For qualifying applicants, it means free transportation to medical appointments, shopping, and other qualified requests. Next, Chief Voltaire will speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Several weeks ago, we engaged with the members of the San Sebastian subdivision, and I'd like to take this opportunity to address their concerns while reaffirming Brevard County Fire Rescue's dedication to ensuring the safety and well-being of our community. When a service call is initiated on the west side of the Satilli-Micco Road Bridge, Station 86, located on Barefoot Boulevard, their crew will promptly respond to the designated area on the east side of the bridge. They will gather their advanced life support equipment, cross the footbridge to the west, and proceed to the specified call location provided by dispatch. Here are a few key points regarding the process. The transition from one vehicle to another will take less than 2 minutes, and with the reduced traffic on Micco Road, we anticipate the transition time to be negligible in impacting the overall response times. 2 vehicles will be staged for this purpose. The first, a squad vehicle, normally assigned to the Micco station, carries 300 gallons of water and can draft from nearby water sources in case of a wildfire, and fully equipped as an advanced life support unit. The second is a reserve rescue. This vehicle is part of our reserve fleet, ensuring no delay in transporting residents or visitors in a vehicle fully equipped with the same advanced life support equipment to the appropriate hospital. All response models for the area will remain unchanged. We have longstanding auto aid agreements with the City of Palm Bay and Engine 87 out of Vacate Road, who will continue to respond as usual without any delay in their response time. These measures are in place to optimize response times and maintain the highest level of service to our community. Thank you.
Okay, that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go to Katie Delaney. Katie, I think we're going to get you a bedroom here so you can stay over. You certainly are passionate about your issues. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thank you. I'm actually not here today on this Micco issue. I'm here to, first of all, good morning, commissioners. The more research I do looking into the North Brevard Economic Development Zone, the clearer it is that this is taxation without representation. I'm asking this commission to dissolve NBEDS entirely. Anything NBEDS is doing can be handled by the EDC without this extra layer of, not government, but bureaucrats or whatever. I don't say that with ill intent. I'm also here to speak with you all about how we are dealing with wetlands in Brevard. Last week, I had the opportunity to speak with some legislators from other counties in the state about this, and to say they were shocked is putting it lightly. We have major flooding issues here in Brevard that historically we didn't have in the past, and I think a huge contributor to that is our wetland mitigation process. This must be looked into to save people's investments. This is a real opportunity for this commission to prove that you are here to protect people's interests and not the corporations. There are 2 properties in the city of Cocoa that are surrounded by county land and homeowners. These homeowners will be greatly affected by the development of these 2 Cocoa properties. Frankly, these properties should never be considered to be developed in the way that they are being proposed. And you all spoke about property rights, which I agree. I'm strongly in favor of people's property rights. But I also believe in personal responsibility. When buying a property, it is the buyer's job to do their due diligence to make sure that the property fits their plan for development. It's not their right to flood out their neighbors. Can I have like 10 seconds? I'm asking this commission to use their power bestowed upon them by their court-ordered agreement. Thank you.
Katie. I appreciate it. Sorry we can't give you more time. Stephen Schlitt. I must give you a little bit of transparency. I used to work for Mr. Schlitt at Caldwell Banker, and he's one of the nicest gentlemen I've ever met. Stephen, it's nice to see you.
Thank you. I am here to talk about the Micco Road closure. I do, although I live in Vero Beach, I do own 3 homes in the Lakes at St. Sebastian and have tenants that this will greatly affect. The bridge that we're talking about, you're probably aware, is about the width of the support columns in this room. The detour, the shortest detour to get from the Lakes at St. Sebastian to visit a friend in Barefoot Bay would be the distance from downtown Melbourne to the Sebastian Inlet Bridge. That's the shortest detour that's available. For that reason, I think that it is appropriate that the Public Works Department be asked to relook at this and say, does it really take 8 months? Have they produced a Gantt chart that shows that there aren't any gaps in the process, and they're doing it in the shortest time possible? Other places, as I sent to you as a letter, such as the Sanibel Island, had 5 breaks with major bridge collapses, and they restored all of those within 3 weeks. Admittedly, they had the state and FEMA involved, but there's no reason that if you go back to the contractor, ask them to tighten up that Gantt chart, take out any gaps, and get the road closure that is such a long distance to shorten it up. Thank you.
Thank you. My best to Linda and your family, Steve. Mark Levine. Sounds like a famous guy.
That's my radio host.
There you go.
First, I want to say thanks. I've kind of witnessed some things this morning, and it kind of opens your eyes. So I appreciate everything all of the commissioners do to help us. Living in the Lakes of St. Sebastian, I moved up here from Brevard County about 2.5 years ago. Love the peace and quiet and the lower taxes, so thank you for that. In this particular case, I would like to kind of ask for the commission to reconsider the cost of what they're doing with this bridge. The inconvenience, the threat to wildfires, yes, emergency services has kind of worked it out as best they can. There will be delays. There's no doubt about it. When you look at this from a map, it's obvious that all of the services are going to be delayed. A lot of us in the Lakes of St. Sebastian have friends, neighbors, family, emergency care. Me, I just had a stint in. For me to get to my doctor now is an additional 50 or 30 to 50 miles to go around and then just go home to a doctor appointment. with all due respect, I'd like to ask that the commission reconsider and we're not looking to stop this project because we know the bridge needs to be replaced. Please reconsider and come up with some way to give us a vehicular, let me say that again, a vehicle bypass. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Robin Hadaway. Always nice to see you, Robin.
Good morning. Thank you for all you do and put up with on this commission, and thank you to staff for the attention they've put into this. I'm Robin Hadaway with the law firm of Lacey Lyons Rosenka. I'm here on behalf of Holiday Builders. As you may know, they've been building in our county for 40 years. They have asked me to come here today in support of the residents of the lakes at San Sebastian and stress their concerns of being negatively impacted of the project. Again, we'd ask you to reconsider the possibility of a bypass to minimize the restriction of service and access both for emergency and daily life. And we want the residents to know that we do support them and we value our history and also our future going forward. This is going to be a growing area of Brevard, I think we've already seen. And I think, you know, we always have the challenge of balancing our low taxes that have already been recognized, but also the needs of our citizens. And I think in this circumstance, the value of balancing even a 20-minute delay in the instance of a healthcare emergency with a senior population really can mean a big change in outcomes for our seniors. So thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to our residents.
Thank you, Robin. Sandra Sullivan.
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So at the last meeting, a statement was made by a commissioner up here that no vote had been taken on the access for the new Bright Line developments out there at I-95 and 528. I just want to mention that this commissioner is a church radio host and not just a commissioner, but an example to our community by her actions. And to reiterate that the county is built on faith, of which sinners will always be forgiven, and I pray for your redemption. I also want to bring to attention the legal aspects of the agreement. There are several aspects of issue. One is that the stipulated agreement stipulates the lot size and 15 feet on the rear of the lot dedicated to a natural buffer. The site plan that I got from the city doesn't do that. The county has the option to choose which access, and I say here that the county's agenda item on the 23rd of May 2023 lacked transparency in what it actually was. I was looking for an agenda item for that particular property and I missed it because it had a different topic, an egress off of Grissom. So you chose the cheaper route for the developer and not the right decision that should have been made for the people. The MSTU that you approved in the last meeting, I got to say this because I'm running out of time. So I want you to go back on the documents filed on the statements made by the assistant county on stormwater. Your MSTU does not include stormwater, and they are using the county conveyances for stormwater, and you're not collecting MSTU.
Thank you, Sandra.
I don't appreciate the time being restricted to 2 minutes when there's really not a lot of people here.
Ms. Sullivan, I'll run this meeting here, and thanks for your input.
Yeah, you don't run it well.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. I always appreciate your comments.
Always honest.
Okay, Linda Yuba Lombardi, is that a correct pronunciation? Good.
It is, thank you. Just 3 points.
Micco Road West is vulnerable to flooding, fire, and smoke, and residents, from families with babies to folks in their 80s, should not have to fear being literally trapped with no way out in case of such an event. But even if we're lucky enough for that not to happen, a failure to provide a new bridge, which certainly is needed to support development planned along Micco West, should not be at the expense of the 163 families that already live in the area. 2, not providing a temporary bridge increases the amount of time it takes to get to a hospital by about a half hour, which is half of the golden hour after a stroke when life-saving measures are most effective. And 3rd, pushing all that traffic to Micco Road West is sort of frightening, because that's a narrow 2-lane road where there is often little to no shoulder. There is 2 big curves, one of which is a blind curve, and this is going to sound silly, but from dusk to dawn, deer and wild pigs cross that road. It's not a road I ever take at night for that reason, and I just ask before the decision is made to not to take out that part of the plan to provide a temporary overpass, that you just drive Micco Road from US 1 to Babcock. It's a great drive, it's beautiful, but I think you'll see that there's a lot of development to the south of that road that wasn't there when the plan was originally made to put a temporary bridge there. So now, of course, the cost has gone up, but so has the amount of people living there, and the safety and welfare of those people, I think, has stayed the same. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Catherine and Rebecca Joseph, do you want to both speak, or would one of the two of you like to speak? You're both welcome to come up. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. We're not used to doing something like this. I'm Catherine, this is Rebecca. We live in Lakes of St. Sebastian. I thank you for all you do, and I understand you have to work with a budget. However, just our personal situation is my parents are staying with us now. My father has fallen 3 times in the last 4 months. Rebecca also has issues, and what was a 9-minute trip to the ER is now going to be a 30-minute trip to the ER, and it scares me. There's a lot of elderly people in the same situation. I know they're doing the best to get the emergency service to us, but it's still going to take that half hour to get them to a hospital. It's just a very scary situation to live under, and I know if you had a loved one in the neighborhood, you would be thinking about this maybe a little bit more. I ask that you would reconsider the temporary bridge. I know it's a budget issue, but I'd hate for something to happen to someone because they couldn't get to the help they needed in time. Did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, basically, I mean, I personally, I personally think this is very important because my grandparents are elderly, and
she's seen one grandmother fall and die
in
because
front of
it.
my eyes.
And
so.
she's very afraid for her other grandparents that are with us right now. So please consider that temporary. Thank you.
Catherine, Rebecca, we appreciate you speaking also today. Thank you so much. Nicole, is it Grabner?
Yes.
If you'd come up, we'd appreciate it.
Good morning. I am a resident of the Lakes of St. Sebastian, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And I really also would like to echo that we appreciate all your help in listening to our comments and all of the work that the department has done to try to alleviate our concerns. I just wanted to also reiterate, I'm a mother with 2 special needs children. Safety is a high concern. I know that a lot of discussion has been made about the inconvenience, but for me, safety is my primary factor. The other portion of that, without the temporary bridge, is you've limited our egress to 1 exit. If we're coming up on hurricane season, increased rains, tornadoes, or whatever Florida decides to grace us with, we only have one opportunity to leave our neighborhood. And I would like to have you give a little bit more consideration for that, please. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Nicole, for being here. Thomas Joseph. Good morning, Thomas.
Hey, good morning. I'm Tom Joseph. You met my wife and daughter. I also live in Lakes of St. Sebastian, and I'm here just to urge you again to reconsider. I've heard before this that you do reconsider some of your decisions before, and this is an important one. I don't think adequate due diligence was done concerning removing the temporary bridge. It's really a matter of safety. It's inconvenience is secondary, but safety, and like other people have said, one egress route is just inadequate. And I know they've tried to put some Band-Aid help on with walking bridges and a piece of equipment. Those are inadequate. I mean, they wouldn't really do much for any kind of wildfire or any house fire, to be honest with you. So we're really just asking you to look in your heart and think about what you can do to include this temporary bridge. It was originally there, and I think the reasons that it was originally there are still valid. To just remove it because of an obsolete quote, I think is a disservice to the community that needs the help. That's all I had to say.
Thanks, Thomas. Janice Pacific. You will be Pacific.
Yes.
Oh, that's specific. Thanks, Janice. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
I'm a resident of the Lakes of St. Sebastian. I'm a retired wildland firefighter, EMT, state training fire manager who spent my career training wildland firefighters as well as structure firefighters on how to fight a wildfire. So I'm not speaking as an ill-informed person. The F-350 brush truck isn't capable of hauling a patient, which you talked some about that already. But is it a diesel truck that you can't just start up and move immediately? Usually they have a warm-up period. All the trucks I managed had to be warmed up. It's not going to be any use on a house fire. It's 300 gallons. The engines that I managed could not hook and pump from a fire hydrant. They can use the hydrant to refill their 300 gallons, but that is not going to do squat on a structure fire. Wildland fire concerns with the bridge completely removed. We only have one way in and out now, so if a wildfire decides to cross Micco Road, or firefighters may decide to close Micco Road because of the fire, we're stuck in place. While it's true we have roads and green space around us, that doesn't help when we have people who are sensitive to smoke and need to get away from it for health reasons. For example, retired wildland firefighters like me and my husband who spent our careers eating smoke. We're very sensitive to it. It doesn't help in the neighborhood where homes are up against the wildland at the edge of the preserves. Dense brush and tree areas has significant fire fuel that can burn and will burn in the event of a wildfire. Some of these homes are close enough for radiant heat to damage or burn their homes. We've heard from the county at previous meetings stated that we won't get fires because it's been a wet year here. If you understand wet years and how that increases the 1 hour fire fuel growth, it's easy to see that when they do dry out, there are then more light fuels and burn like crazy and create more ladder fuels that put the fire up into the trees, which causes the problems with the fires. And maybe you can move grant money from races over to bridges.
Thank you, Janice. Shane Ortel.
Howdy. Also a resident at St. Sebastian. I find it interesting that you hold an event planner's feet to the fire when he blew a budget by some money, and you don't hold your public service people or your public works people feet to the fire when they blow a budget by double. That's 100%, not 10%, 20%, or 40%, but 100%. Did they miss this budget by? At that point, they should have been sent back to the drawing board to refigure that budget and get a realistic quote. 8 months is insane for this project. I think that the fact that you guys decided to yank our safety and our quality of life out of this budget over $1 million is wrong, and I think you need to reconsider that. You're putting all of our lives in danger. You're really messing with our quality of life. We do have a lot of old people that live in that neighborhood. That neighborhood wasn't there when these guys, I guess, started this project. It is now, and there's 160 homes being occupied. And that's just our neighborhood. We also have Deer Run to the west. I don't know how many people have been in that subdivision, but they're also affected by this. So this thing is a real, real problem for the people that live there. And I think the fact that you guys did this, that you voted on this without maybe having the knowledge of how many people were living there, you take it upon yourselves that if somebody does have a house burnt down, if somebody does get killed because now they're driving an extra 40, 50 miles both ways on a road that's not real safe, as previously mentioned, you know, that's on you guys. And I think you need to reconsider your decision to take that bridge out. We need vehicular access in and out of there from that side of the bridge. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Is this Betty Ortel? Is that correct? Is it Betty?
I also live in the Lakes at St. Sebastian, and your responsibility as county commissioners is to provide for the general well-being and safety of your residents. If you allow this bridge project to proceed without temporary vehicle access, you are shirking your responsibilities. I know over the next 8 months to a year, I will be living on a hope and a prayer that our neighborhood stays safe, that there is no hurricane, that there is no wildfire, and that no one from our community dies from lack of EMS services. I would not want to be in any of you guys' shoes. I would not want to wake up over the next year and a half or 8 months to a year knowing and praying, you guys praying, that there's no hurricane and there's no wildfire that affects our lives. I wouldn't want to carry that guilt of someone dying on my shoulders if this happens. As I said, your responsibility is to provide safety and well-being to all residents of Brevard County. And if you allow this project to move forward without the temporary vehicle access, you are putting not only the residents of the Lakes of St. Sebastian, but Barefoot Bay and many others in imminent danger. And if something disastrous should happen, that decision is on each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Richard Weiss.
Hello, I'm a resident of the Lakes at St. Sebastian and wanted to address the safety issues. We talked about getting out of our area. What if in a two-lane road there's a car accident? With all of the construction and construction vehicles, if we have to get out in an emergency or if somebody just has to get out in an ambulance, it's not going to happen, or it's going to take a lot longer. Also, I'd like to know why we weren't notified about this by anyone other than our HOA. No letters to our house telling us about the impending danger to our safety. There was a blinking sign past our development telling us what may happen at a certain time. Meanwhile, we're within 2 weeks of the closure, and they don't have any real definitive plans. There's no way you can tell me that an ambulance is going to get to the hospital as same as it did in the past. It's just not possible. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Richard. Leland?
Can I defer to the end respectively, because I'm the HOA president, I'd have closing statement.
It's fine, Leland, no problem. Richard? Hello, old buddy, how are you?
Hey, Rick Heffelfinger, 2000 Juniper Drive. Switching gears, gonna go back to last meeting. Sandra addressed a little bit of it. We have a situation with the road, and we've got a safety thing there maybe too. But I proposed an alternate plan to access the Windward Preserve development that's being proposed by the city of Cocoa to solve a traffic problem. I think that the city of Cocoa has a problem. They're in somewhat violation of their PUD. They're supposed to have 2 access points. One of them, because of the stipulation agreement, was taken away. It was a Friday road access. Now they've got 2 access points, but they're to the same road. And you're actually enabling them somewhat, because I understand they have a application submitted to vacate the right-of-way on the James Road extension and take that as a private road. So you're somewhat enabling them to use that 2 access point under the same road, but it doesn't really comply with the requirements of the PUD. So I had, last meeting, put a chart, did a little line drawing showing how that the city of Cocoa can solve this whole problem, get their secondary access if they put a road in on their own property. I submitted that to you in email. It was late. I apologize for that. Commissioner Pritchett had actually taken the copy of the drawing that I did, so now she has a nicer copy. And I'm going to be going to the city of Cocoa tonight, and I'm going to point out the problem that they have with their PUD, and I would appreciate it if you guys would stand with the unincorporated residents, that's who you guys represent, that Cocoa is, they're doing a bad number, and it's going to affect me in particular, because I live right off of Friday Road, and all that traffic will come down. Calming devices on James Road is going to make that even worse. They need that other road. And the developer in that stipulated agreement, they have to do what it takes, and they have to bear the cost. I hate to do that to them. I like, City of Cocoa, they can grow, but they have to grow properly. And you guys need to help us make sure they don't put all that traffic down our road and create a safety issue just like this Miko Road. Thank you.
Okay, Leland, you're up. No more cards.
No more cards. All right. Leland Miller, Lakes of St. Sebastian, HOA president. Along with you, I have 37 years of government experience. I've been in your positions. 25 years as a hostage negotiator, crisis intervention specialist for the state police and Department of Corrections. 12 years as county court judge. I understand respect. Respect and due diligence goes both ways. I do believe that the attempt that they have made was not informative to the residents of Lakes of St. Sebastian. If we didn't request a meeting, we would still not know everything. We still, to this date, just found out about some more EMS services are made available, which indicates to me that you were never informed when you made your decision. When you made your decision in September to reduce the project, you didn't have all the information. You as county officials, your primary responsibility, safety, security, and welfare of the citizens that you represent. Same with the officials that are appointed to oversee this project. They didn't do that. They didn't communicate. They didn't communicate with us. They didn't communicate with you. That's a serious concern. Still to this day, what happens if there's a flood or fire and they can't even get into us from the west? There's no way for them to come in. They have to deal with that first. If a resident dies within that community, the responsibility is laid back on the county officials that set these plans forward and the board. You decided as a board to cut this project down. Only you as a board can amend the project, have it temporarily stopped until these concerns are addressed.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission at all? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion, Mr. Chair.
The motion on the floor, is there a second? Commissioner Goodson made a motion, Commissioner Feltner seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all for coming today.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.